Please welcome to the stage Kristofer Royer.
When I was a kid growing up in Western Pennsylvania, my favorite toy was a Transformer. This Transformer's name was Sideswipe. He was a robot on Cybertron, of course, but his earthly facade was that of a cherry red Lamborghini. And he was my favorite toy. I didn't put him in the toy box with the other toys because he would get scratched up and he was too special for that. I kept him on top of my dresser so I could look at him. And he was more than a toy. He was my goal. I had decided one day over a soggy bowl of Salvation Army cereal and a fresh batch of powdered milk that generational poverty wasn't going to be my thing, and I was going to get a Lamborghini. I was so naive that I didn't know that, that poor kids in single-wide trailers on the outskirts of a dying steel town don't get Lamborghinis. And I told my mom, and she said, "You're going to go to college. That's what you're going to do." And every day she told me that I'm going to go to college, and that's how I would achieve all these goals. And so I knew it. And so for the next 10 years, battling through, again, more poverty, sometimes hunger, lots of abuse and violence, I finally made it out. And in January of 1994, I was going to start the spring semester at Temple University because my idol Bill Cosby went there. He gave my commencement speech. I don't know what to tell you. And so I hitched a ride with my estranged father 8 hours across the state with my meager belongings. We pulled up into a city that I had never been to, Philadelphia, very far from home and very different than the farm town where I grew up. And he handed me $100 and said, "That's for books." And I said, "My first book cost $120, and he drove off. And so I had the 100, and so bringing my net worth to $105. And I was like, I'll make this work. The city was gripped in a historically bad ice storm, and the dorm wasn't ready. I stayed 2 miles away in the medical campus dorm on a cot in a building with no heat for 4 days. We got there too early. He left, and I stayed in this building eating out of the vending machine, trying to use as little money as possible, waiting for the bursar's office to open Tuesday to meet my financial aid advisor. I went down and I talked to a very shrill, sharp woman who started throwing words out at me that I didn't completely understand. "I'm smart, but I don't know everything. You have to tell me first." And she said, "Well, what about your FIA? What about your Pell?" And I stumbled over words, and she said, "What about your subsidized loan? What about your unsubsidized loan?" And I said, I don't know what that word means, but maybe if you could explain it. I know my mom did paperwork, and she said, "You can't afford to be here. You need to leave. You don't belong here." And I said, "But I'm really smart and I'm really poor, and this is a state college, and I think you just have to, we can work something out, right?" And she said, "Next." I was 8 hours away from home with essentially no money in a city where I knew absolutely nobody. And the person who was supposed to help me just said, "Next. You don't belong here." I had so many emotions, and I'm not always really even good at handling one at a time, and to have shame and fear and disappointment, and I don't know what I'm going to tell my mother, and I don't know what to happen. I don't even know where my stuff is or how to get home. I don't want to go back to my goddamn steel town, and I wouldn't know how to get there if I did want to go. And I just collapsed underneath a bank of payphones and started sobbing with my eyes closed, and I felt completely adrift, just in a sea. And I don't know what would be the more divine thing to see when you're out in an ocean at dark and you have no navigation but the dot of a lighthouse on the horizon. And all I heard was, "I think I can help you." And when I looked up, I saw the biggest, brightest smile on the roundest face I'd ever seen, and a woman named Dolores Cooper reached her hand down and pulled me up. She took me into her office and explained the difference between subsidized and unsubsidized. I told her about Sideswipe and my goals and how I was going to get the sick Lambo. And she laughed, and we she changed the records so that I no longer had to go see the shrill, sharp person anymore who yelled at me and told me to leave. She reached down to offer to help me, even though she had plenty of other people to help. She didn't have to do that. And I saw her 2 or 3 times a semester for the next 4 years. She helped me through a lot of ups and downs in college and managed to keep me afloat all the way to graduation. I was able to parlay that degree from a state university into some pretty cool low-level jobs, which I was able to parlay into eventually, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I'm a vice president of a bank. And so... and I no longer desire a Lamborghini. When I count my blessings, I close my eyes and I can see her face as clear as day. And I don't want a Lamborghini, but when my brother lost his job, I was able to put my hand out and say, I can help you, come with me. And when my sister wanted to buy her first house, I was like, I can help you. And when my buddy's like, I want to buy a 20-year-old Pontiac Grand Am, I'm like, I can help you because your other car isn't running. Lil Wayne tickets, we got them, okay? I can help, but I can help because of a lighthouse named Dolores.